It's Tuesday, June 23rd. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. With arguments wrapped, a jury will now decide the verdict in a double murder trial. Police are called in to investigate spending practices in the office of the Halifax mayor.
A mix of sun, cloud, and showers ahead for tomorrow, and there will be a chance of some thunderstorms in New Brunswick.
Live from our Maritime's News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. The fate of a 46-year-old St. John man accused of killing two boys is now in the hands of a jury after final arguments in the double murder trial today. The Crown prosecutor called it, quote, a case about desperate vengeance. CTV's Avery McRae has details from St. John Court.
It was around 2 o'clock the 12-member jury was sent away by Justice Daryl Stevenson to decide if 46-year-old Roman Commissioner is guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder in the stabbing deaths of a 17-year-old boy and a 10-year-old boy in January of 2025. Their identity is protected by a publication ban, and the accused has pleaded not guilty to the charges. Commissioner is accused of stabbing the boys to death in a North End apartment on January 29th before attempting to take his own life with a nail gun to the head. First was the defense to deliver closing arguments, who argued to the jury that the Crown failed to prove beyond reasonable doubt that the accused did not deliberately plan to kill the boys. She reminded the jury that Commissioner had no memories of the hour leading up to the stabbings. He told you there was no plan, Shauna Wicks told the jury. He told you he could not even imagine it, and that the notion is 100%, 1,000% untrue. After nearly 10 minutes, it was the Crown's turn to deliver closing arguments, and they didn't mince their words. This is a case about desperate vengeance, the Crown stated, arguing the deaths were a way to get back at witness A, whose identity is protected by a publication ban. CD and AB did not die because of an accident or an unpreventable tragedy. They died because the accused used their lives as a weapon to execute a plan. Killings driven by vengeance. For over a half hour, the Crown detailed numerous events covered over the trial leading up to the day of the murders. That included detailing a letter written by Commissioner accepting responsibility and the recollection of the testimony of neighbors from that morning. Around 4:45, the jury requested to re-listen to the 3-hour testimony of witness A. The jury is about to break for dinner and will then decide if they want to listen to the remainder of the testimony or retire their deliberations until tomorrow. Todd, Justice Daryl Stevenson spent 2 hours giving the jury instructions prior to sending them off to deliberate on a verdict. That included providing a summary of the evidence presented in court, as well as what is needed to convict someone of first-degree murder. Todd?
All right. Thank you, Avery, from St. John Court. Now, we should tell you that once we have a verdict in, we will have that updated either on the newscast, if it allows, or, of course, at our website or the CTV News app. To drama at Halifax City Hall now, where Mayor Andy Fillmore is under police investigation after the Auditor General questioned some spending in the mayor's office. The AG says what he found was, quote, past his comfort zone, and summoned the RCMP. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness reports.
There's a storm brewing over Halifax City Hall.
It's disappointing.
Dartmouth Centre Councillor Sam Austin is talking about a police investigation that is underway after the city's Auditor General came across some spending by Mayor Andy Fillmore's office that caught his eye.
I referred my concerns to Halifax Regional Police for a couple of these because I felt that this was a little past my comfort zone, and they felt a little too close to the situation, so they passed it along to the RCMP.
This all happened between June 2025 and February 2026.
On May 22nd, the RCMP received a referral from Halifax Regional Police due to a possible conflict of interest in regards to financial irregularities identified by the Auditor General.
The AG focused on 2 procurements totaling more than $100,000, neither of which went out for tender. Part of that included payment of $14,000 to an outside speechwriter. Fillmore also billed his office for 2 external legal expenses for close to $8,000. The second of which came after being told the first one didn't comply with municipal policy.
The policy is clear, and to do it a second time after you're told, that's concerning. And, I can see why the AG would want to flag that and send it off for investigation.
Mayor Fillmore says he accepts the AG's findings and the police investigation.
Obviously, it's a very uncomfortable place to be. Anyone would feel that. I'm certain that it will all be found to be unremarkable.
Regardless of the outcome of the investigation, Councillor Austin says incidents like this tend to erode the public's confidence in City Hall.
Ultimately, in politics, the actions of one reflect on all of us.
Well, Todd, Mayor Andy Fillmore has repaid the money from his personal accounts. The RCMP investigation is being carried out by their commercial crime section. Todd.
All right, thank you, John McGinnis from City Hall tonight. A man is in hospital after a shooting in Halifax this morning. A 25-year-old man was found suffering from a gunshot wound just after 9:30 in the city's West End. He was taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries. Police do not believe this is a random incident. The investigation in the case is ongoing. Canada's drug czar reported last week that overdose deaths are declining in this country, but that is not the case in Nova Scotia, which we are told has seen an increase in opioid and other drug-related ODs. CTV's Emma Convey spoke with frontline workers dealing with the impacts.
Harold Cook works on the front lines of a crisis fueled by opioids.
It's an alarming trend when you look at the, Canada-wide, Halifax specific. It doesn't really matter which numbers you're looking at. The trend is upwards. We're doing a great job of getting the word out there as to how to manage them, but the deaths are still increasing year to year.
Cook is a registered nurse with the Mobile Outreach Street Team, run by the North End Community Health Centre in Halifax. Part of his job is responding to overdoses.
The issue now is that these new drugs that are out in the system, they're not intended for human use. A lot of them are, veterinary tranquilizers that are not intended for humans. And these are the ones that are getting cut into opiates on the illicit street supply.
A growing concern. Amanda Moore with Direction 180 says Nova Scotia's increase in overdose deaths is because of a more potent and toxic drug supply.
If you think about fentanyl, which is already a really scary thing to have in our drug supply, that's 100 times stronger than morphine. So if you can imagine someone who's never taken an opioid before, if they use other substances such as cocaine or methamphetamine, but they've never taken an opioid, even a very small amount of something like fentanyl or something even stronger is going to be a lethal dose for that person.
Naloxone can be given to someone experiencing an overdose.
It knocks the opioid off the receptor in the body. So opioids suppress respiration.
Pharmacist Kimberly Hurdle says in addition to calling 911, someone may need multiple doses of naloxone. And kits in Nova Scotia went from having 2 vials to 3.
These kits are available for free across the province.
Community distribution sites hand out both nasal and injectable naloxone, but pharmacies only provide injectable kits. Hurdle says they need both.
The public's comfort with administering an intramuscular injection is fairly challenging to overcome. And a nasal spray is really very simple to administer, and most people would be comfortable with that. So it increased our possibility of saving lives.
Todd, those working on the front line say the message they want to get across to the public is that they come across someone experiencing an overdose, regardless of what they've taken, use naloxone if possible, because even if they took something laced with a substance naloxone can't help, it won't do any damage. And a reminder, call 911 as well. Todd.
All right, CTV's Emma Convey continuing her coverage of this issue tonight in the newsroom. Thank you. A former Fredericton police officer has been charged with perjury, uttering forged documents, and breach of trust. It's another black eye for a force still reeling from recent court decisions. As CTV's Anna Mandan reports, one expert says this could further erode public confidence.
Fredericton Police Chief Gary Forward says a former constable has been charged after an independent investigation.
It is paramount that we communicate not only through our own means, but also with the media to let the public know that we're taking these steps to ensure that any event that's taking place within the organization is being dealt with swiftly.
According to Forward, information came to light back in November about the alleged actions of former Constable Andrew Savoy. The chief says the force realized the issues may have been criminal in nature late last year. They brought in an outside police force to investigate. Savoy, who resigned in January of this year, is facing charges of perjury, uttering forged documents, and breach of trust.
We started to see some inconsistencies with what somebody said that they had for experience and what in reality they did not.
This comes nearly a year after Fredericton police came under scrutiny when 2 major homicide investigations were dropped due to what was called an insurmountable evidentiary issue. Chief Forward says Savoy's charges aren't related.
It is isolated. It is specific to an officer's reports and submissions.
But St. Thomas University professor Michael Boudreau says the charges may further erode the public's trust.
The question should be asked, what was the hiring and vetting process of their officers, this officer in particular?
Forward says, as far as he's aware, the charges will not impact any cases before the courts. But Boudreau says Savoy's charges could potentially be very serious.
Even if it's a minor case that has to be reviewed, it still sends the wrong message.
Savoy joined the force in 2023. The charges against him have not been proven in court. Anna Mandan, CTV News, Fredericton.
Voters in communities along a section of the Cabot Trail will elect the first ever MLA in that corner of Nova Scotia. As our Ryan McDonald tells us, it's been a hotly contested campaign in the newly created Acadian riding.
It is Election Day in the newest provincial riding in Nova Scotia, one that was created in large part to give a voice to Acadian issues.
Well, I think it's great, but I'm not so sure we'll get that focus that we need.
This Acadian voter who showed up at the returning office in Grand Etang today says, though, that he's hopeful having an Acadian representative in Province House might make a difference, and he feels that it's long overdue.
That my ancestors are here because of the deportation. That's the reason we're here. This is the wild place to live. The sweats, 150 kilometers.
Myself, personally, I'm not Acadian, but I do have a lot of Acadian friends.
The riding is called Shetty Camp Marguerite's Pleasant Bay, and it has plenty of non-Acadian voters, like some who would have showed up at this polling station in Marguerite Forks.
I overhear a bunch of issues they're having, so I feel like this new sort of election is going to be a good opportunity to show off the Acadian issues.
The polls close at 8 o'clock this evening. Early voting, meanwhile, started back on May 26th, with a total of 1,350 votes being cast that way.
Every vote does count, and this riding is as far as you can get geographically from the center of power.
Political scientist Tom Urbaniak says that with fewer than 4,000 eligible voters, each vote plays a big role in determining the outcome. And while some of the issues, such as roads, would be the same as in any rural riding, he says whomever is elected will have a say in francophone issues province-wide, and that the Houston government has a lot to win or lose here.
They think a lot is at stake, the PCs do. Because if they can win this riding, it will send a message to the rest of Nova Scotia that maybe the decline in momentum is not as great.
We're hopeful and happy that we have our own representative for a time. It may not last forever, but for a time it would be nice to get a special look at our part of the world, because it is a special part of the world.
Today's by-election marks the end of a short campaign, with the new riding having been announced less than 4 months ago. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, Grand Etang, Nova Scotia.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Good news for those driving to and from Prince Edward Island. Construction and the delays it brings is done on the Confederation Bridge. Resurfacing work on the 2-lane span began last month. During the project, lane closures were in place and travelers waited up to an hour to cross. The spokesperson for the bridge says the paving was completed yesterday. The work zone has been removed. Traffic has returned to normal levels as the peak tourism season gets underway. And there is a live look at the Confederation Bridge, and very little traffic as it stands at 13 minutes after 6 o'clock. 16 degrees in the Northumberland Strait. Let's bring in CTV meteorologist Kaylin Mitchell, and you have been tracking some rainfall warnings.
That's right. So visibility pretty good right there across the Confederation Bridge, but visibility is likely reduced in parts of the Maritimes because of some heavier downpours coming in within the general area of rain with this weather system. Some of those have been in along the Bay of Fundy coastline, where you can see some automated weather station reports have come in with some totals above 60 millimeters at Point Lepreau and probably above 60 millimeters and around the Grand Manan area as well. We also have some high rainfall totals starting to come in out of the southwest of Nova Scotia. Automated station at Yarmouth coming in at 50 millimeters, but I also received a viewer report from Bruce, 54 millimeters in around the Yarmouth area, and that area of heavier rain is continuing to progress up the south shore of Nova Scotia and towards Halifax. We can take a closer look at it here. So it's going to be heading, well, it's already basically into place around Queens County, but heading into Lunenburg County. Then after that, Halifax County. You may even need to watch for some downpours a few hours from now, parts of the eastern shore of Nova Scotia, because these downpours are moving through at a fairly good pace. It is Queens County, Lunenburg County, and the western part of Halifax County that are currently underneath the rainfall warning, with some totals that at least locally could approach 50 millimeters or more, similar to what's being reported out of some parts of Yarmouth County. And that can lead to things like hydroplaning conditions on the roads, reduced visibility. And if you are aware of any spots locally that tend to pond or collect a little bit of water when the rain is heavier, you would want to keep an eye on those locations. This wet weather is going to be around for a good portion of the Maritimes as we continue through this evening and tonight, but I'll have an update on when it will be clearing out when I'm back a little bit later on, Tom.
Yeah, very good. We'll do that in about 15 minutes. Thanks. 5 years and more than $1 billion spent on universal mental health care in Nova Scotia has created a system full of gaps. And that's according to the province's Auditor General, who made 10 recommendations to improve things. CTV's Jesse Thomas has more.
5 years after the province promised to implement a universal mental health and addictions care system, the audit determined the Office of Addictions and Mental Health lacks a complete understanding of the array of services and locations where those services are offered. And there are no service standards in place to ensure there's equitable access to care, and no reporting on how the system is performing.
Things like the location, hours of service, transportation, is it close to parking, bus routes, and then also identifying the needs in the particular areas of the province.
The findings come despite close to $1 billion in government spending on mental health care and addiction services over the past 3 years.
The challenging part, I think, for many governments across the country is just the demand, right? So we'll continue to do what we can to increase the access, and we'll get these recommendations done.
The province says it's committed to implementing the 10 recommendations laid out in the report. And as for the focus, it remains on increasing accessibility to publicly funded mental health and addictions care. Comer says work is going on behind the scenes now to create a comprehensive website to ensure everyone knows what services are out there and available.
And I kind of try to explain to people is that if you need help, you should always reach out, whether that's through 211 or whether that's through the provincial intake line. Your Health NS app is also a great place that, you can use your geolocation to locate resources in your own community.
The challenge, Adair made clear, is that Nova Scotia has higher rates on average of mood and anxiety disorders, and the same goes for levels of drug and alcohol abuse, which are higher than national levels. It's part of the reason why the province has been trying to offer universal mental health and addictions care the same way it offers regular health care. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
Online, details of how Nova Scotia is spending over $100 million expanding its school lunch program. That's at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. A drop in fuel prices has prompted Porter Airlines to reduce a surcharge it tacked on to rewards flight redemptions. A temporary $40 surcharge was implemented in March for all Porter Reward flight redemptions to, quote, offset global aviation fuel prices. The fuel surcharge has now been cut in half to $20 for reward flights. Porter said the surcharge reduction comes into effect today for all new bookings. Over 150 years, St. John's City Market has survived everything from a massive fire to a global pandemic. Celebrations of the market's milestone are being matched with a series of changes designed to ensure another century of sales. CTV's Nick Moore has the details.
It's how every day starts and finishes at the St. John City Market.
And the bell is, a very iconic piece of the market, of course, being rung every opening and every closing.
The historic bell, part of a new rebranding of Canada's oldest continuously operating farmers market, celebrating 150 years. The bell itself has just been refinished and is now more visible, and there's more changes to come. Renovations are well underway. New storefronts have just opened or are about to. John Hooper's timepiece statue will soon become the market centerpiece, and new seating will be built out in the actual market.
We really like the idea of having that indoor eating area so people can be in the market and they can see what's going on and they can see their pals and their pals can see them, and also we can just kind of have that hustle bustle right in this main area.
A year after the city market opened, it narrowly survived St. John's Great Fire of 1877. The city market is one of only 4 market buildings left in Canada, which predates the 1900s. Farmers used to drive horse and carts right into the main hall. A lot has changed between then and now, especially how people shop.
The way that people spend their money is very, very different now. So we're really looking at how can we capture the most people in this space, have the locals back in this space as much as possible.
Jill Lasky-Perry has been a vendor at the city market for 5 years and hopes more local residents will find their way back more often.
In making this space a little bit more of a flexible space so that it can be used for the community, that people can come here and have events, they can celebrate.
We've got visitors coming here every day, and that will continue, but what do we do and how can we be intentional in setting this space up for the most success for our vendors and for the community at large?
Anniversary celebrations at the city market will continue throughout the summer, leading to a major celebration later this fall. Nick Moore, CTV News, St. John.
It's certainly a gem. How long can we expect the rain to last? We'll get the full forecast after our commercial break. Before that, though, the latest on the war with Iran.
We know what they agreed to do, and now they'll either do it or they won't.
An American delegation is visiting Gulf states trying to sell a peace deal to allies targeted by Iranian missiles. That's next.
This is the Campfire Conditions Report, brought to you by Pine Acres RV, where customers become friends. And with rainy weather making its way across the Maritime region, no big surprise that we don't find much in the way of restrictions currently in New Brunswick. You are permitted to have a campfire for the province of Nova Scotia. Campfires are allowed between the hours of 2 p.m. and 8 a.m., which is pretty typical during the fire season. And for the province of Prince Edward Island, campfires are currently permitted, with domestic brush burning allowed between 2 p.m. and 8 a.m. Be sure as well to check in on any municipal restrictions or bylaws.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is visiting Gulf states, working to sell a deal to allies who have often been the target of Iranian missiles during the war. But just a short time ago, the U.S. Senate passed a war powers resolution to remove American forces from hostilities without congressional approval. NBC's Julia Ainsley has the latest from Washington.
President Trump traveling to Pennsylvania to talk economy and tout his deal with Iran.
We're doing very well with Iran. They've been decimated, and we're making a deal with them, and we'll see how that all goes.
Insisting Iran has fully agreed to high-level nuclear inspections long into the future, despite Iran's assertion that no visits have been scheduled.
They're wrong. They're wrong. They're wrong. They know they're wrong. They told us inside, and we have it down 100% inspections. And if they were right, I'd cancel the meetings right now.
A sentiment echoed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
But we know what they agreed to do, and now they'll either do it or they won't.
Rubio is in the Middle East to sell the president's deal to leaders of the UAE, Bahrain, and Kuwait. These allies were targeted by Iran during the war.
We're really here to hear from them more than we are to talk. We want to hear their thoughts, especially in the aftermath of this weekend in Switzerland, and make sure that their views are taken into account in every decision that we make, because they're our partners.
Part of the deal includes unfreezing Iranian financial assets if Iran adheres to the terms.
Money that will be taken out of Iran is going to go to our farmers to give corn, soybeans, wheat to Iran.
But that idea facing an uphill climb on Capitol Hill, even from his own party.
A lot of us have expressed concern that if we take sanctions off of them with regard to simply bringing them to the negotiating table, that puts us at a disadvantage long term.
And Trump says this deal is better than the agreement negotiated by the Obama administration, known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA. Trump ended that in his first term. Now, one lawmaker says the president needs Congress to sign on to the deal.
I don't think it's a better deal if it doesn't get ratified by Congress. It's just another chit-chat between an administration and the mullahs, just like the JCPOA with Obama was.
Republican senators will get a chance to ask the president questions when he joins a GOP lunch tomorrow. The president has been pushing for lawmakers to pass the Save America Act, but Senate Majority Leader John Thune repeatedly said there are not enough votes to support it. Julia Ainsley, NBC News.
Some details about this program. The World Cup is going to kick us around a bit over the next little while. CTV, TSN, Crave, you know this by now. You're home for FIFA coverage of World Cup 2026. And on certain dates, CTV News at 5 and CTV News at 6 will move to CTV 2, and that includes tomorrow. So make sure to look for us down the dial on CTV 2. If you want to find out the dates that will affect us, you can go to the QR code that you see on the screen or ctvnewsatlantic.ca for that full schedule. Still to come in tonight's newscast, scattered showers in the Maritimes tomorrow. Kayla Mitchell has details in the full Maritime forecast after this. A foggy afternoon with showers along the rocks of Peggy's Cove, Atlantic coast. Doesn't matter though, still a beautiful shot as we take a look at the full Maritime forecast. I ran into a tourist from Arizona who loved the fog, absolutely loved the fog and the cooling. She was saying weather in the 40s. In Arizona, so this was a really nice break. Felt like vacation, she said.
Celsius, right?
Celsius,
yeah.
In the hundreds, yep.
So that's what we call the traditional view at Peggy's Cove, the one with the cloud cover and the fog around. Of course, we know equally there are many clear, bright blue sky days out of Peggy's Cove. Not today, though. Not today, not with the weather system.
Really? Would you say equally? No.
Yeah, okay. I'm working for Tourism Nova Scotia here, Todd. All right, so weather conditions out west right now. Still a lot of very warm temperatures. There have been some heat in parts of British Columbia, even down towards the south coast. They are going to be cooling off over the upcoming days. Some rain expected to move in. Has cooled off a little bit through parts of the prairies. We've got 19 right now at Calgary, Saskatoon, and Regina, and 15 degrees at Winnipeg, and they're reporting some rain move through. Quite warm up in the north right now. Whitehorse sitting at 20, and Yellowknife sitting at 25 degrees. Even Iqaluit right now sitting at 19. Mild to warm temperatures through southern Ontario and into southern areas of Quebec. 24 degrees at Montreal right now, 17 in Fredericton, 15 in Halifax and Charlottetown, and 17 degrees at St. John's. Of course, our concern right now in the Maritimes with the rain, drizzle, and fog. And there is a band of some heavier rain. Well, there's a couple areas where there's been some downpours. First of all, around the Bay of Fundy coastline in New Brunswick, some of that moisture converging off of the bay and right around those shore areas has produced some rainfall totals up to in excess of 60 millimeters. But there's also a line or a band of some heavier rain making its way through western areas of Nova Scotia right now. Just coming into the Bridgewater area, and then the next stop for that heavier rain is going to be Halifax. It's going to happen within the next hour, and then after that towards eastern parts of Halifax County, and even a risk that some of those downpours can reach areas the eastern shore a few hours from now. Now, by the time we get to around and shortly after midnight, the bulk of that rain is going to be making its way off towards the northeast. There will be a final round of some lighter rain and some showers that moves quickly southwest to northeast across Nova Scotia early Wednesday morning, and a wet start to the day as well for Prince Edward Island. By the time we get to around the early afternoon, though, on Wednesday, what's left of that rain is going to be exiting Cape Breton. In behind it, maybe some sunny breaks in parts of New Brunswick and southwestern areas of Nova Scotia. But in New Brunswick, Wednesday afternoon into early Wednesday evening, there's likely to be some spotty pop-up showers. And with those pop-up showers, a risk that a couple of them could develop into some small thunderstorms. Atmosphere is just going to be a little bit unstable in behind the wet weather that's moving through tonight and into Wednesday morning. So taking a look at winds in the forecast for the next 24 hours. Tomorrow there is a change in the wind direction. The wind becoming west and northwest around the Maritimes with some gusts between 20 and 40 kilometers per hour. With the wet weather tonight, the cloudy conditions, temperatures fairly mild. Most lows won't be much cooler than 12 to 15 degrees. Highs tomorrow, northern New Brunswick, mostly between 18 and 21, though around 15 to 18 degrees on the coastline. Fredericton near 22 for tomorrow, 21 for St. John. A little bit cooler in Moncton, the southeast, a little bit cloudier there tomorrow. High temperature close to 16 degrees. Prince Edward Island tomorrow with highs between 16 and 18. There's going to be some rain showers around in the morning, then a lower chance of a shower in the afternoon. We'll call periods of rain and showers for eastern areas of Nova Scotia for tomorrow. Most of the high temperatures will be around the mid to high teens. Northern and central parts of the province will see a round of showers move through in the morning, a lower chance of a shower in the afternoon, and highs between 16 and 20 degrees, and a round of showers making its way across southwestern areas of Nova Scotia first thing Wednesday morning, and then a lower chance of a shower during the afternoon. Taking a look at the 7-day forecast for Thursday for the Maritimes, looking like a fair weather day, mix of sun and cloud for New Brunswick. Chance of showers, though, Friday and the start of the weekend. Temperatures rising, though, through the weekend into the start of next week for New Brunswick. May cool on Tuesday, next Tuesday, with a chance of showers. And for Nova Scotia in the forecast, a mix of sun and cloud on Thursday, highs in the high teens, low 20s. Chance of showers after that on Friday and Saturday, mid-20s in the forecast for for Sunday and for Monday, and then that's followed by a chance of showers on Tuesday of next week. And for Prince Edward Island in the forecast, a mix of sun and cloud on Thursday, followed by a chance of showers on Friday, and for the start of the weekend after that, it's a mix of sun and cloud for Sunday and Monday, and finally a chance of showers on Tuesday of next week. Todd.
Thank you, Kalen. We'll see you later. Next, how optimistic are Halifax businesses? We'll talk about that.
Okay, so we're back at it. Stop the pump tomorrow. Chance to win some gas money.
That'll be at 7 a.m. with us.
Also get a shot at a $200 Atlantic Superstore gift card.
Welcome back. The Halifax Chamber of Commerce, which represents 2,000 businesses with over 95,000 employees, recently surveyed the level of optimism and confidence among members. Chamber President and CEO Don Bureau joins us in studio. It's good to see you.
Hey, Todd, how are you?
Very good.
Good.
Before I ask you about your members, let me ask you about you. You haven't been in this position very long.
Nope.
You came over after a long tenure at the Nova Scotia Community College, running that system. What was it about the Chamber, about private industry, that enticed you to make the switch?
Great question, Todd. You're right. I had 15 years as the president of NSCC, and quite frankly, loved every minute of it. Spent about 22 years in total with the college, and loved every minute of that. But seeing what's happening in our business community right now really excited me. When I think about what's happening in the world, what's happening with Canadian sovereignty, with what's happening with our military, I saw an incredible opportunity to bring some of the strengths I had, some of the talents I had, and try to come and make a difference in the business community directly.
So you talk about that level of optimism, what you're seeing is opportunity. Your report sees a dip in optimism among business owners. What are they telling you?
Yeah, so our business members, we survey all 2,000 members on a frequent basis. And that optimism does go up and down, Todd. It does vary. Overall, what we are hearing is a high degree of optimism. We're seeing significant economic potential here in this region. The military investments, the investment in energy, the investment in our critical minerals, our business community is feeling optimistic. There are some challenges. There are some areas that we need to focus on, but overall, I'm seeing a degree of optimism overall.
You mentioned military spending. We should be hearing from the federal government about that submarine purchase
100%.
Any day now. Yes. Would you expect, regardless who wins that contract, that Halifax will be a key player in?
Yeah, you're right. That decision will come down between a German supplier and a South Korean supplier. Regardless, we're going to benefit from that as a region. There will be massive investment locally in the maintenance and repair facilities for the submarines. I'm very, very excited about that opportunity.
What do members tell you about consumer confidence?
Yeah.
It's a tough time. You know, we report every night about cost of living issues, inflation, fuel costs, where they are, and softening labor market.
100%. There's no doubt about it. Our housing affordability, our, as you say, our food scarcity, those are all concerns that our citizens are feeling every single day. The antidote to that is trying to create strength and prosperity in the economy to have more high-paying, high-value jobs in this region. That's what we're focused on as a chamber, to help create the conditions for our business community to prosper and to create more demand for labor. You mentioned a softening labor market, but we're also seeing examples of organizations looking for labor right now, Todd. There are in some areas labor shortages that are keeping some of our...
skills gap that we hear about?
That skills gap is very, very real.
Yeah. What about your time at NSCC? I mean, there's the perfect incubator. That's where we create, you know, people who are going to fill a lot of those gaps in skilled labor.
Yes.
What kind of role does the school have with the people you now represent in business?
That's, again, a great question. There's such intersectionality between the Nova Scotia Community College and, quite frankly, the entire post-secondary system of the province of Nova Scotia to what our business community needs. At the college, we spent a lot of time trying to match the demand and the supply, working every day with industry, but we were also finding that technology was changing so quickly. And when technology changes, the skill set required changes, and we had to adapt the way and the manner in which we taught and the equipment that we use. So that's an ongoing challenge. But right now, Todd, we need more human beings. We do need more people with the right skills being trained for the opportunities that are coming our way.
So what are businesses doing about that? Are they training their own people?
Right.
Or are they going out and trying to compete to hire those folks who have those skills?
Yeah, a little bit of both.
Yeah.
You know, I see a lot more on-the-job training happening. There is competition, but quite frankly, at the Chamber, we're also having a lot of conversations right now about immigration policy. We're hearing stories from our members of great new Canadians coming in and having a work visa, and that work visa coming to an end, Todd, before they get their permanent residency, and that gap is creating an issue for our members. So we're having to work with government to see if we can change some of those policy items.
In that, the concern of losing those people with skills.
Yes.
Is that keeping companies... We hear that companies are sitting on cash in some cases because they see what's happening with trade, concerned about CUSMA talks, which are coming up, and that is stifling some business.
Yes. No, that's true. But I'm hearing more often than not our businesses, our members, not actually able to pursue opportunities that are there because of the labor shortage. And that, for me, is a very unfortunate situation. So I think as a country, as a region, as a province, we need to spend more time making sure that our immigration policies are lined up with what our businesses need and the uniqueness of different business regions in the country. What works for Atlantic Canada may be different than what works for Ontario. And we need to be adaptive as a policy country towards those differences.
What do you make of productivity levels in the province?
Yeah, the productivity in the entire country is something we need to work on. With the adoption of AI, with new technologies, I think we can improve our productivity, but that's something that the entire country needs to look at right now. Nova Scotia, as a region, we must do better from a productivity point of view, and we're working with our members to increase that productivity agenda. It's something we have to focus on.
Don, I appreciate you coming in to talk about this. There's certainly a lot to discuss, and perhaps when that submarine contract is signed, we'll get you back in and we may have some more details then about just exactly what the outflow might be for not only Halifax but the entire region. So
100%. Thanks, Todd.
Don Bureau is the president and CEO of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Looking at medical news, we have a word of warning about those popular massage devices. CTV's Amanda Debison has the details in tonight's edition of Lifeline.
We begin with a warning about how not to use massage guns. It comes after a man in his 20s developed retinal tears and other injuries after repeatedly using a massage gun on and around his eyes. The case was published in BMJ Case Reports. Researchers say he sought medical attention after experiencing floaters and occasional flashing lights in his right eye for nearly a week. Doctors managed to treat the retinal tears with laser surgery, and 6 months later, his condition was stable and his vision was preserved. The researchers warn the devices can cause serious eye injuries when used improperly and want clearer warnings from manufacturers. Health Canada has approved Zepbound as the first medication in the country to treat moderate to severe obstructive sleep apnea in adults with obesity. The approval marks a new development in the treatment of the condition, which affects breathing during sleep and can contribute to a range of health issues, including cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. The medication is approved for use alongside a reduced calorie diet and increased physical activity in adults with a body mass index of 30 or higher. Finally, south of the border, the last 8 American passengers who endured 42 days in a specialized hospital quarantine unit after exposure to a hantavirus outbreak on a Dutch cruise ship that killed 3 people have left the Nebraska facility. That monitoring period was set because symptoms of hantavirus have taken as long as 42 days to appear in previous outbreaks. None were reported to have developed the illness. During the passenger stay, local Omaha restaurants and food trucks delivered special meals for them to enjoy, and the nurses sometimes made Starbucks runs to deliver some of the passengers' favorite drinks. The rooms they stayed in are like hotel rooms equipped with a desk, TV, internet connection, and exercise equipment to help them pass the time. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
Thank you, Amanda. We'll be back with Kaylin's Wake Up Weather after this.
Mornings with Aaron and Peter.
Join us all this week for the $1,000 Minute with Atlantic Superstore.
Celebrating 40 years and giving you $200 just for playing this week.
We were not supplied with the business report this evening, but we do have the numbers. So here's how the markets fared at the closing bell. First, the TSX, the Bay Street Index, ended down just shy of 75 points to 34,927. The Dow, it was down 45 points. And the Canadian dollar traded hands down to 70.38. The loonie now flirting with dropping below 70 cents U.S. Let's get a final look at the, well, rainy weather.
Yeah, it is
on the deck.
Yeah, it's soggy out here right now. It's a light rain falling, accompanied by some gusty winds. However, there are some downpours making their way up the south shore of Nova Scotia, and those are going to be coming in across the Halifax area within the next about hour to an hour or two. So we'll need to watch for that. Let's take a look at our viewer picture for tonight. This is a nice shot. This is coming in from Linda McNeil from the Beachville area, and we see Linda's planter box there. The garden certainly getting some rain today. Beachville for tomorrow does start off with another round of some lighter rain and showers moving through in the morning. Then in the afternoon, chance of some sunny breaks and a lower chance of shower. High temperature near 20 degrees. There is going to be another round of wet weather that moves southwest and northeast across Nova Scotia Wednesday morning into early Wednesday afternoon. It'll be exiting Cape Breton early in the afternoon. Morning temperatures mostly around the low to mid-teens for the Maritimes. In the afternoon for the province of New Brunswick, some isolated showers popping up, especially in the west. A risk of thunderstorms with those. Let's find out what's ahead on Your Morning Atlantic.
Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic, a local business block party.
We'll head to Halifax's Hydrostone neighborhood to preview an upcoming retail anniversary celebration, and you're invited.
Start your morning with us Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic on CTV2 and Crave.
Finally for us tonight, a lifelike robotic octopus. Yes, a robot developed by researchers in Italy can feel its way around using artificial suction cups and use that sense of touch to grasp objects underwater. The prototype is designed as an alternative to rigid robotic arms for work in delicate or hard-to-reach environments. Octopuses, have long fascinated scientists. With no skeleton in their arms, they can bend, twist, and wrap themselves around objects while their arms help them grip and understand the world that surrounds them. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. Bruce Frisco here at 11:30. I hope to see you right here tomorrow night at 6. Until then, I'm Todd Battis. Have a good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast. Watch live on Crave.